From the University of Alaska Anchorage, this is Seawolf Voices, a podcast about the pathways to and from education. I'm your host, Matt Jardin. If you ask anyone in the world to picture Alaska, one of the images that's sure to come up is dog mushing, which is a topic Robert Forto knows all about. Robert currently teaches a course on dog mushing right here at UAA, has trained thousands of sled dogs professionally since 1994, and has since built a podcasting and speaking business focused on dog mushing and its relationship to strategic leadership. He is also a UAA alum, graduating with his Bachelor of Science in Physical Education before also earning his Master of Science in Sports Management and a Doctorate of Strategic Leadership, both from Liberty University. In this episode, Robert talks about why everyone should try dog mushing at least once, what training sled dogs can teach us about managing people and businesses, and shares his own aspirations for racing in the Iditarod. Robert, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to chatting with you.
So I know those introductions gloss over a lot. So is there anything that I missed, or is there anything else that you want to add?
You know, I could probably talk to you for hours about the journey to get to right here today. But in short, I started being a dog musher in 1994, my first round of college at Portland State. I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. Quickly learned that I did not want to spend all of my time in the office, so I started a dog training business in the parks of Portland, training some soccer mom dogs on the weekends. Fast forward a few years, jumped into dog mushing in Minnesota. Ended up meeting my wife, Michelle, and our kids, Nicole, Tyler, and Kyle. And we've been doing this ever since. Moved up to Alaska in 2010. Started college at UAA in 2014. I'm sure we'll jump into that in a second. But it has been one heck of a journey for sure.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue. So what was it that got you into training dogs and then eventually training sled dogs?
I was involved in competition obedience with Siberian Huskies in the late 1980s, and I knew that there was more to that. That was the time where a Disney movie called Iron Will came out. I'm sure some of you guys have seen that. Everybody got hooked on that. They thought that was the next superhero movie with dogs. I got a team of sled dogs right after that and started training, as I mentioned, in Minnesota. Lived in a little cabin in the woods on the lake up there. And, you know, I was young and foolish in my early 20s. And boy, I thought that was the life. And here we are, 30 years later, and I'm still doing it.
So I have a dog, and if I'm being honest, she is not the best trained dog, but you're training dogs not to learn new tricks or anything, but to run in some of the most intense conditions. So what is that process like of training a dog to potentially run in the Iditarod?
Well, first off, we do train dogs just like yours. We have a company here in Alaska called Alaska Dog Works. That's what keeps the lights on, as they say. So we do that. But we also have a team of sled dogs right here on the property. We have 30 sled dogs. We do teach college courses, but I've run races and expeditions through UAA, which we could talk about as well. But it is a constant deal. It's a lifestyle. We get up in the morning, we do it. We go to bed at night, right after we're done. It is something that is over-consuming for sure.
What is that process like of specifically training a dog to be able to run in the Iditarod?
First off, it's kind of like a farming lifestyle. So you get up, you do all the chores in the morning, you clean up, you feed, you do all of that stuff, the health checks and all of that. And then typically in the afternoons, late evenings, we will hook up teams and run right out of here of the kennel in the backyard. We have hundreds of miles of trails right behind us here. And we hook up anywhere from 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 dogs at a time. And we just take off into the wilderness and we just go for as many miles as on the schedule that day. We've done 5-mile runs. We've done 50-mile runs. We've been out in 40 degrees above zero, all the way down to 50 degrees below. And it is just something that is nothing like it out there, just sort of in the silence of the wilderness, just doing your thing. It is amazing.
So is it just a matter of repetition and endurance then, just trying to get these dogs in shape for those kinds of conditions?
Yeah, it's similar in human terms, like training for a marathon or something like that. So you're gradually building up endurance and fitness and that sort of stuff. And then as we go, we're adding, different team dynamics. So we're switching dogs around from here to there. We're adding different mushers, the people that drive the sled on the back. We're adding those dynamics in. And then, of course, changing up the environment, whether we're doing hill training or river training or training through the woods or checkpoint training when we're pulling into races and that sort of stuff.
So you move to Alaska, which is dog mushing central. You start this business and then you enroll at UAA. So what led you to enroll at UAA?
So we moved up here in 2010, chasing the crazy Iditarod dream, which I still have not completed yet. My goal is not to be the oldest rookie to ever run it. The oldest rookie was 74 years old, so I have a little bit of time. Anyhow, we moved up here in 2010. Two of my kids moved up here with me. They were still in school. My youngest, my daughter Nicole, I always like to tell this story. We headed down to UAA right after she graduated high school here in Houston. We live in Willow. And we went down to UAA. She did the typical UAA tour as a freshman. And she said to me, Dad, I bet I finish college before you do. So I said, okay, I'll take that bet. And on that very day, I walked into, at the time, it was the Cuddy Hall there, where the police department and that thing, sort of thing was. And I took a look at the time, it was the HPER department. I took a look at their course offerings and all that. I walked right into their office. I said, hey, I'm a 44-year-old student. I want to enroll here. And by August, I was in classes. And boy, it took 4 years there, 3 years for a master's, and about 3 years for a doctorate. I was in school 12, 13 years past. It was a long journey for sure.
So your undergraduate degree is in physical education. So can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit about why you went that route, or was that pretty specific to the dog mushing of it all?
Well, that was my second bachelor, so I've already done all the stuff, all the hard stuff, if you know what I mean, all the
Mhm.
math and, the physics and all that stuff. I wanted to have fun in college. As an older guy, I wanted to jump in and do things that I like to do. So that fit my niche right down the center, with the outdoor classes that they offered at the time and, the hands-on leadership type stuff that we were doing. It just fit. I can't say more about that program. It was awesome. I developed so much as a leader there. I was offered so many opportunities to teach and grow and go on expeditions. It was just amazing.
That's actually another perfect segue. Are there any lessons or experiences or people from your time at UAA that just sticks with you or that you still draw upon today?
I still keep in touch with pretty much everybody. We had an outdoor leadership cohort, so we were all in the HPER department. And at the time, there was either a kind of a teaching cohort, teachers for PE classes like in schools and that sort of stuff. And then there was a health component with folks that are going into PT and that sort of stuff. And then our cohort was much smaller, which was the outdoor leadership cohort. So there was 10 or 15 of us. And man, we became close. We almost became family. Like I said, we did so many trips together, like sea kayaking and river rafting and ice climbing and our expedition and all these sorts of things. And we are still very close today with most of those guys. A lot of those guys have gone on and worked with me in one capacity or another in our dog mushing courses. I'm really tight with TJ Miller. He's still part of the kinesiology department, which they are now. And he's offered a lot of opportunities to us. And like you said, we teach dog mushing, and I also teach a research course in the department as well.
Again, another perfect segue. So can you kind of walk me through that process of you coming back to teach a dog mushing course? And I'd love to learn more about some of the research that you're teaching as well.
So just to back up just a little bit, a part of my program there in the HPR department was to do an internship. Of course, everybody listening to this as part of UAA knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I quickly realized there's not going to be very many companies in Anchorage that want to hire a 45-year-old guy to do a free internship. So I had to develop my own. And that's where we came up with the Winter Multi-Sport Expedition. We ran that in 2018. We went 170 miles into the backcountry with teams of sled dogs, snow machines, and fat bikes, All of us from the outdoor program took part in that. And that later developed into our dog mushing course, which we teach right now. That was a 2 credit over a week-long course over spring break, that expedition. It was one of the most amazing courses I think ever offered at UAA, and people will probably tell you that. But now we teach a 1 credit recreation type dog mushing course. We just finished it up this past weekend. Here we are recording this in early February, and it was amazing. It was people from all different departments. There were people from faculty and staff that were part of it, and they came out for the weekend and they left with lifelong experiences for sure.
You also do these speaking engagements where you
Yeah.
not only talk about strategic leadership, but you are somehow able to also relate it to your experience training sled dogs. Can you give us a little bit of a crash course on the topics that you cover?
Yeah, I've spoke at quite a few outdoor type conferences around the country on this very topic. The way I try to speak or teach is I try to use sled dogs as a metaphor for a team, like in business. So I say, okay, well, we have our CEO, which is the dog musher. We have sort of the dogs that are leading the team, if you will, the lead dogs, and then we have everybody sort of going down the line from that. And it's all about team dynamics. How can these dogs work together to make sure that the objectives of the team are met? And we try to parallel that with real life experiences. In our course in particular, we do lots of debriefing, a lot of experiential learning activities and that sort of thing to go from that topic of being on a dog sled to how we can apply this in real life. In my speaking engagements, typically I speak on teamwork, team building, leadership, strategy. I remember teaching one, or excuse me, speaking on one topic in particular was leadership lessons at 50 below zero. And that was when we did an expedition across Alaska at 50 below, and leadership crumbles pretty quickly when it's that cold on the middle of the Yukon River in February. And boy, there were a lot of lessons there for sure.
Would you say any of those things also translate to personal success as well?
Yeah, 100%. And at this moment, I'm writing a book called Searching for Lost Mittens, and it's all about those lessons that we learn out there on the trail and through life and how we can apply those moving forward. And I talk a lot about introspection and self-care and mental health and all those things that a lot of people think about. And when you are given the opportunity to do things like I've done, I've been very privileged, very blessed to do a lot of the things that I have done. It gives you time to think about these sorts of things. And, when you have, I don't want to say a quote unquote real job, but you know what I'm saying? When you're out and you're just sort of at the daily grind and you're trying to figure out where you sort of fit into the puzzle, it's tough to have a lot of introspection or reflection, if you know what I mean. And I think
Mhm.
I've been given the opportunities to do that by having sort of the lifestyle that I've led for so long, just having that ability to sort of mold my outcomes, if you will, by the experiences that I have.
One of the things that I find interesting about you and your story is that it's really one about resilience. Dog mushing is an endurance sport, but you personally know something about resilience, having been affected by the .com crash, which is something that you've talked about elsewhere. Like, is that topic of resilience something that you like to incorporate in your speaking?
All the time. And I have a particular talk on that I am not bashful about sharing. Yeah, I was full throttle involved in that. And that, of course, that did not have the happiest of story, but yeah, you learn from your mistakes. And if you don't, obviously you still struggle. So, it's sort of that one foot after another to be able to get from that point to the other point and being able to learn from your past mistakes and then be able to not only teach yourself something about that, but teach others, I think is a powerful message.
You mentioned earlier this podcast is coming out around Iditarod time, so I figured I should bring it back to sled dogs. What is your favorite part about sled dogs, about training, about mushing, about all of it?
100% is just being out there alone with your team. There's nothing like it. Of course, taking off from the race start or the kennel or whatever you're doing is exhilarating. But once you get out there and you just chill, if you know what I mean, you're in the zone. You're just there. There's just something very special about that. I could tell stories about being out in the middle of the night and seeing the northern lights with my dog team and camping on the trail and all of that sort of stuff. It is an amazing experience and it's life changing. I know students that have taken our courses at UAA will say this is a life changing experience. And I am just so blessed to be able to do that every day where I can go out, hook up a team of my canine buddies and just take off on the trail and just go. It's amazing.
What would you say to someone who is interested in trying mushing?
Definitely, if you're part of UAA, even if you're not, every winter we teach this course as long as the weather and snow hold up. Definitely sign up for the course. It is in the HPR department or kinesiology or whatever it's called. There is no experience like that. It's a 1 credit course, so I don't know what a credit costs these days. Come out and have a life-changing experience, and boy, it will get you hooked. I don't know how many people, as I said a little bit ago, have come out years later and said, man, can I do this again? I want to go out and run the dogs again.
So you mentioned earlier that it's still something that you need to do is actually participate in the Iditarod. What is the plan to do that?
Well, first off, I got to tell myself I have the time, the money, and the effort to be able to do that. It's a very expensive endeavor for sure. But I would also have to give up my time teaching these courses at the universities because it's smack dab in the middle of winter, of course, and then it leads right into Iditarod time. So I have to bite the bullet and say, you know what? I'm going to be a little selfish here. I'm going to jump on the sled. I'm going to train for this. I'm going to enter the race. I'm going to finish it. So I just gotta say, hey, this is the year, and this is when we're going to do it. I don't know when that'll be, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I don't want to be the oldest rookie, so I still have about 20 years before that happens. So we'll see when it sort of falls into place.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Sure.
Robert, thank you so much for being on the episode.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Seawolf Voices is a production of the Office of Alumni and Community Engagement and University Marketing and Communications.